let me start, because you gave a very nice overview, like block by block, all the value chain. But let me start with an initial comment from my part, that when we started planning this panel, my idea was that, every step by step, the industry was turning like away from if it is something we want or not exactly, or what it is. This question still remains, but I think we turn to the question how we can use it, how we can deal with it in a meaningful way. And so you gave us a very nice, I would say, overview of that. And of course, in the meantime, I think uh, the idea of licensing and possible revenue streams also came along more and more for the previous months and the previous week with HarperCollins
Yes.
deal. And also, of course, the EU AI Act, which was voted in spring. I don't know, I don't remember the month exactly, gave a regulatory framework. So to discuss that, we have together with us Fatima, of course, Anne Bergman. She's director of the Federation of European Publishers, and she has been heavily involved, I would say, in the discussions leading to the EU AI Act, representing the European publishers. Emma House, who you already know from the previous panel, but in this panel is in her capacity as, I would say, publishing consultant. Her involvement also in the Stardust Publishers Conference, which had a lot of AI and very popular ones, I have to say, AI roundtables a couple of weeks ago. And and of course, as consultant to at least three, I don't know if there are more.
Just three.
Just three. AI, I would say, startups, young companies trying to use AI for the publishing industry. She will tell us more about it. And Andrey Mishenev, a veteran of this conference by now, second year. He has many hats. He's an audiobook publisher, a CEO and co-founder of ABP Publishing, which has like 700, I believe, titles in like 8 languages, so substantial production. And also, but also he has Booka, which is an app for kids. So that's our panel. And I would like to start with Emma and ask actually everybody the same question, which is, let's say, what if AI is a game changer? You briefly mentioned that. I mean, if it is really a profound change for the industry, and how you see the prevalent view of the industry toward AI evolve, change, if at all. So, Emma, please.
So I think it will be a profound game changer. I think it needs to go at its own pace in the same way the internet did when the internet came about. Not everybody had websites, for example. Not everybody used the internet on a regular basis. But I think we're using AI in our day-to-day basis, on our day-to-day work, whether we like it or not. If you do a search on Google, you're using AI. If you use Microsoft Word, you're using AI. And so from that perspective, it's happening in the background without us even realizing. And we're probably not seeing profound changes because of that. But I think the more that we consciously use AI and take the decision to use AI in our day-to-day work, then gradually we will see, when we look back, what a profound change it did have.
Okay. And but what about the attitude of the industry, I would say? I mean, in the beginning it was probably mostly cautious, but has it changed? I mean,
I think everybody's still very cautious. I don't think anybody's dived right in and said, okay, we're going to use every tool under the sun that's possible. I think people are moving very slowly, as the examples that Fatima gave. You know, HarperCollins are trialing one license with one LLM, and there's many, many LLMs out there to do license deals with. But we've got to take things slowly, and we've got to understand where we can, what the repercussions may be over time. I think people will do pilots here and there where they feel comfortable, where their authors feel comfortable. But I don't think anyone's going to dive right in at the moment. But everyone, I would say, is at least experimenting with something.
And Anne, maybe what would be your take on these issues? I mean, if it is a game changer, and what is the prevalent view in the industry?
Oof, it's a big question.
Yeah.
First of all, I think publishers are not divers. I mean, publishers are prudently going into the sea
Very slowly.
And slowly.
Very slowly.
And we've seen it for many things. In my capacity, it's what I'm trying to do is to ensure that the legislation at EU level supports the publisher as much as possible. So you're right, there was the AI Act, but just before that, there was, not before that, 5 years ago, there was the called Digital Single Market Directive, which provided two exceptions, one for TDM, text and data mining, which is kind of the ancestor, if we may call it like that, of artificial intelligence. One for research, which cannot be prevented or avoided, depending on how you see it. And one for non-research or commercial, etc., for which the rights holders can opt out. And that is really important. And in the legislation that was adopted just before the European election, first of all, the Commission recognized that AI and TDM are the same family, to say the least. And then they also, but they insisted, and it was particularly the Parliament. But it's also funny because this legislation came before OpenAI existed. I'm sure they existed, but was announced. So the Parliament, who comes always at the end, decided to put transparency. And this is what we're missing most from the artificial intelligence. I think this is basically machine learning, because intelligence, I think it's a bit different. But okay, it's the common...
Training.
It's common language. But at this stage, we have strong suspicion that they're using content without asking permission, except a few licenses. But, well, they were a bit candid in the beginning, and they stopped being candid and not providing which sources they were using. And so I think the biggest achievement was to ask for some transparency. Now we are in the discussion, because what we would like as transparency and what the AI would like as transparency, or AI operators, is totally different. And maybe I'll let the others speak, and I'll come back with what I think it changes to the industry.
Yeah. So, of course, we would like to talk more, but at a later point, about the legal aspects and what EU AI Act brings and so on. And let me ask Andrey. First, I would like also to, what is your, let's say, your attitude, first of all. I mean, not to overgeneralize. What is your attitude now towards AI, especially, I would say, compared to, like, it was 2 years ago, which the ChatGPT was launched to the world. So, please.
Yes, I can answer this question from my professional field as a publisher, businessman. From this perspective, I would like to thank Fatima for the great introduction for the wide audience and for professionals of how AI can be used in our field. And as Emma mentioned also, we want or not, we use AI right now, and it changes our life without our will, let's say. From my perspective, I also think that AI, it won't change. It now changes the publishing business, generally speaking. I'm not an hour of a big publishing house, but I can say that I'm not talking about using AI on internal business processes when we are talking about business interviews, conferences, which will be automated, making transcriptions. Automatically, we can put the tasks from the speeches we discuss on the conference, etc., etc. From the publishing perspective, if we are talking about translations, editing, and voice narrations, there is a huge usage of AI in this field. But we all have to understand that AI right now, it's not like a thing that can do everything itself. It's an instrument that we all can use in our everyday life and as a professionals. We have to clearly understand which task we can accomplish using AI, if this task we can use AI and it will be cost effective. Because from our perspective, we try to use an AI and the AI in a lot of fields, and we do understand for the editing, for the translation, there are some tasks when the cost of usage of ChatGPT and other services is much higher, and you have to spend a lot of time of your editors to double and triple check what does AI do, let's say. There are also a lot of limitations because AI at that point is, as a technology, is a little bit limited. When we are talking about audiobooks narration, as you mentioned, we published in our publishing house 700 titles in many European languages. There are some specifics in using, for example, 11 labs for different languages. There are some specific. And from our experience, at that point, narration of audiobooks by AI is not effective for the long reads because AI doesn't give at that time the stable result for 3, 4, 5 hours narration. At that time, we cannot do that. But for the short content production, for summaries, for all the marketing materials, for social networks, for YouTube, for Instagram, etc., it's a perfect instrument. It's very cost effective, and it will affect also us as a customers, because at the beginning, when we heard the first versions of 11 Labs audio narrations, we said it won't work. But right now, the customers decide what do they like to do. Of course, there are a lot of people who would say, I can hear it's AI or it's not an AI. But to be honest, in many cases, me personally, I cannot understand if that voice was created by AI or the live voice. In many cases, customers say they prefer the narration of AI other than the live voice. So it's a good instrument. We all have to understand it's not a threat. It's an opportunity for all of us. And again, I also can add that we have to use it responsibly. Firstly, we as publishers who create content which will be used by the customers. And yes, it's not a threat. It's a good instrument. It will definitely change the publishing industry. Our industry is not very fast in the development, but sooner or later we will see, I think, dramatic changes in this field.
I was wondering, Fatimah, because you are also a translator, and how, I mean, have you incorporated, let's say, AI tools in your work, I mean, everyday work? And for me, which is really interesting and very relevant here, is that many of the LLMs, many of the AI tools work pretty well, I would say, also in either lesser spoken languages, like Greek,
Arabic,
or in languages which are not, definitely not, are spoken by an important part of humanity, but are mostly neglected, or, you know, it's not a priority for the big tech companies like Arabic. So tell us a little bit more about translation and AI, and also, you know, how well it works maybe in Arabic, which is also an indicator of how fast it progresses.
Okay, if you are talking about lesser spoken languages like Greek, for example, it could be challenging because the rarity of the language. It's only like a small part of the word that speaks the language. But it's the same for Arabic. We are so many people speaking Arabic, it's widely spoken, but because of its complexity, it makes it very challenging. Because we are like millions of people, like around 400 million speaking Arabic, but very different than each other. We have so many different dialects. Like we have the Egyptian dialect, the one in the Gulf, the one in North Africa, and even the one in North Africa we don't really consider pure Arabic because we need translation for the North African countries, Arabic, for us to understand. And for artificial intelligence, it's still very challenging than the Latin languages. It's much more progressed in the Latin languages, smarter than Latin languages in terms of translation and localization as well. But for more complex languages like Arabic or less spoken languages like Greek, I think we still need a lot. And I think this is an advantage for our languages because we still have our own creativity, we still have our own human touch without this takeover. However, I don't want to say that AI is taking over or replacing humans because we can control that. It's you who can control if this tool would replace you or not. If you are using it as an assisting tool to help you, like it streamlines processes, it helps in sorting data, analytics, it's really useful. But if you rely totally on this tool to make it right for you, to make it translate for you, then you are helping this tool to replace you. You are helping this tool to destroy your creativity. Because by time, depending that much on technology, we will all be the same, writing in the same way, doing the same thing. Because I would say that it's not smart. It's a very systematic. It's like a robot. It's very systematic, but it's not smart. And for translation, if you ask how it helps with the workflow as a translator or as an agent, for translation, it could be useful when translating from language to another because it helps you do the research, the necessary research when translating a book. Because, for example, I could translate a book from Greek into Arabic, but I'm not familiar with some idioms or some expressions in Greek that when translating into other language, it's not a literal translation. You had just to give the spirit of it. So AI is a good tool in helping understanding this. And also, it helps in localization because sometimes I need to change something to adapt to the other culture and to other background for people to feel relevant. So it's a very useful doing this simple task, like streamlining your process. It helps you put things on the right frame. It helps you with your research. But to rely totally on it to totally translate a book using AI, and this happens, by the way, but not all people disclose that. And there are also some platforms that helps ghostwriting with AI. I think Editext is one of them.
That,
Emma?
I was going to say that it is a good point here to point to Emma.
Yeah.
That's exactly for tools. You are involved in some of them, I would say. What's the idea, I would say, in general? Why we need, let's say, tools on top of existing LLMs? Why not just use like ChatGPT or whatever? And second, it would be very nice if you could tell us a little bit about these platforms and what they do and how they could help publishers and authors, not just publishers, as I understand.
So I think the way that AI companies are setting themselves up to serve the publishing industry is a very specific use of AI or use of the LLMs that are out there to create a tool but with a service level on top of it. So, for example, Shimmr does automated advertising using AI. So, of course, you can create your own social media advertising using AI. You can just go into Copilot or another one that creates the images for you. But what Shimmr comes in and does is uses the manuscript to really extract the DNA from the book to create an image that reflects the essence of the book. But it doesn't stop there. It goes on to then use another tool that's been created to place that social media advertising so that it's psychologically tuned to the people that are using the social media. So it goes one step further. So of course you can create the ad yourself, but what this does is go one step further and place it in the social media with the buy now buttons. It also then provides a publisher dashboard so that you can see how well your ads are performing. You can switch them out, you can tweak them, you can alter them. And so you've got that dynamic live tool that really helps you understand how those images are performing.
And maybe the other tools like Editrix, Fatima also mentioned, and Clio Books, what is their, let's say, their niche?
Yeah, so it's an AI ghostwriter. So it's an automated ghostwriter. So it allows the author to speak their book into the technology whilst giving prompts. And the way the tool has worked is it's been trained on publishing templates, publishing systems. So it's not simply going in and using ChatGPT that's been trained on the data that it's been trained on. It's been specifically trained on a specific area. With the added service of creating prompts and then rearranging it into the right template. So it just goes on that one step further. But what it doesn't do is create the content. It's the author's work, so it's their words that are going into the system. It doesn't edit it, it doesn't do anything. It then goes to a human editor. So all it does is, we call it book architecture. So it gives the author a structure that then helps rearrange their thoughts into the way a publisher would like to receive a manuscript.
So, I think there are many opportunities, many ideas. I mean, every now and then, every few days actually, I come across a tool which is not necessarily specifically for publishing, but a friend or a colleague sends a link in the chat, which is a whole new thing. I don't know if all of them, of course, are really valuable, but you have to look into them. I mean, that's already...
Absolutely. I mean, we were talking about the languages, and just out in Sharjah, we were playing around, and there is an Arabic language LLM called JAIS, J-A-I-S. And the translation tools from English to Arabic and Arabic to English are phenomenal, because it's been trained on the Arabic language. And so by using these localized LLMs, you do get better results. But I'd agree that playing around with things as they come in, I was writing a presentation the other day that I had to go from a Word document into a PowerPoint. And so I tried out Gamma for the first time, and I was amazed. So you give it it's my work, I wrote the words, but it does go in, and you can either have it on lots of text on a slide, a small amount of text on a slide. You can ask it to manipulate your text or preserve your original text. And you can use stock images, you can use AI generated images, and it did it for me within 5 minutes. And of course, I did have to go in and tweak it afterwards. It wasn't perfect, but I think it saved me about 6 hours work.
Yeah, and there is also another tool in PowerPoint now. It's AI generated, where it helps you to rehearsal. It's called the rehearsal coach. So if you are presenting and have this PowerPoint presentation, it gives you the slides, you start to speak, and it gives you a feedback whether you did good or you need improvements.
So, I know we can go on and on about tools we have all
There's
discovered,
lots out there.
and we will need also the input of the audience at the end. I think many stories to share here probably, but I would like to go to one, and you already mentioned, I think, some common abuses, but like by the big tech companies when they use data from books, from the publishing industry. And my question is, what is the most important abuse the by the big tech companies towards publishing. I mean, what is most important for publishers? It is transparency, the actual data, the references. That's the one thing, the one leg of the question. And the second is how much EU AI Act really dealt with the problems the publishing world has with, you know, the AI companies.
Well, I think that there are two elements. The first one is the output. And the output, I think, it will require transparency. If someone has used AI to create a work, they should let their readers know about it. If it's not just a simple structuring or things like that, but if really, AI has been somehow co-author of the work, and this will create a lot of problems of copyright, but that's a different matter. The AI Act doesn't deal with output. That will be, we will start with having court cases about books that are created by AI and are not, can they be protected? This Dutch publisher who has recently announced that he was translating, or she was, I don't know if it's a lady or a man, but a number of mid-range books with the authorization of the author into English because they couldn't find a British publisher. Are those books protected by intellectual property because they have been edited afterwards by a translator, but there hasn't been a translator doing it. So that's issue that haven't been dealt with the AI Act. The AI Act dealt with, or tried to deal with the inputs. And as I mentioned earlier, the biggest issue for publishers is they have no real clue of what's in it. The Americans manage, I think there's a case with a song that looks very much like American Pie, and they had a prompt. They managed to show the similarity between what a AI produce and an original song, but it's very difficult. And of course, they have a lot of techniques to mix a little bit of data. I think for publishers, and even more for authors, is to know that their works are being used. AI requires enormous amount of data, and I think that they would like to know their works are used, and they like to be paid for it. And there's a big resistance at the moment, except for a few, and all of the examples you gave were Anglo-Saxon. There's a big resistance from the AI companies to pay for to use data. So that's going to be a big challenge. As we speak, there's a plenary session of the AI office in Brussels online, which will be discussing, among other things, transparency. We are asking to at least know the sources that they're using. Are they using pirated sources? We believe they do, but we have no proof. Are they using libraries? Why they are not researchers and they shouldn't be using libraries for doing AI. So at the moment, for at least at legislative level, the real issue is, please tell us where your sources, which are your sources, and we can license or decide not to license, depending on whether the authors and the publishers agree. And I would say for all of those smaller languages, although they are not always small, Spanish is not a small language by all means, is the countries themselves, they want LLM in their language. In Iceland, the president of the republic say, I'm going to find a way of having a Icelandic AI based on the Icelandic language. And there's starting to be discussion not at EU level, but at member states level, where to say what's the value of the content. And if you are licensing it, who's going to pay for it, on which regularity, etc.
So, a quick two questions for you, but with quick answers, just to. The first is with the EU AI Act, is something changing in the coming months for publishers and authors in Europe? Something concrete, or it is mostly we will shut the courts, or enforcement would be more vague? That's the first question. And the second is about licensing. So licensing, to add some context, is a deal a few big publishers had already made. So that you give, I would say, the right to AI companies to mine your data and extract tokens and use it anyway for their AI tools, to train their AI tools, not use it in general, to use it to train the AI tools. And I don't know, which is a case that I would say the AI companies are paying something, which is maybe a few millions. I don't know exactly, the exact numbers haven't been disclosed. So what's your take?
So at the moment, it's a struggle between the AI company who say it's trade secret, we won't give you any information, and the rights holders, but also other parties, by example, data privacy. How do we ensure that the personal data are removed from the collection of data and then the reuse of data? So hopefully we'll win that struggle and we will have a chance to understand what it is, and that will give us the chance to license. Okay. And the second thing is there's a possibility, if you want to license your content, is to put an opt-out on your content.
Enough? Sorry? Enough?
So it's like traffic lights.
Okay.
When the light becomes red, you stop. Sometimes people go, they go straight away and they break the law. But if we have both the transparency and the opt-out for those who want to license afterwards, because if you don't opt out, then it's free for them to use it. Yeah. So there's no licensing. So we encourage people to opt out. We have developed some technology at W3C together with the community, and then start thinking if you want to license, if your authors want to license, etc.
So I think it's the right time. I know we can go on and on also about licensing and how to deal with big tech and the legal aspect. Yes, that's exactly what I wanted to do. So Argyris and others who have to say something from their experience on the topics we have raised. And yeah, we need the mic. And I don't know, I can't name names after Argyris with people who are involved in AI from the audience, but
hello again.
You can do it yourselves.
So it's my understanding from how the internet works and the internet platform works is that the machine has already scanned the works of an author before the work has been published, because nowadays Microsoft is online on the cloud. It provides AI tools. So these tools are trained by the work of the author while he writes the novel. Most of us use cloud servers. Those files are scanned from the AI machine. So for me, the way the industry tackles the licensing and compensation of the authors is wrong. I mean, we all have collective societies. I'm actually in the board of the Greek one. So I know for a fact that they work. So what should be implemented is a fair compensation by the companies that is going to be paid to the collective collection societies, and then the members will be compensated. And that could be either by their turnover, we can find a solution. It's wrong to go ad hoc and license content, and each of us can ask whatever they like, we like, and they can tell whatever we like. But it's a fact that the work has been used by the machine before it has been protected by copyright. So nowadays, everything that is connected collects data, and that's the main problem. And I hope that the AI Act tackles this matter. The best book about this is Shoshana Zuboff's Surveillance Capitalism. She explains how the data collection is taking place, how the lawmakers don't know how to provide the framework and protect us. Very detailed. And I think we're looking at the problem wrong.
I understand your point, but I think there's several difficulties. First of all, Microsoft, when you use it, it will keep your data in a closed circle, and it will not share it with the other AI. So that will be only Microsoft for its own in artificial intelligence.
So they will train their own AI system.
But
yes.
They won't allow others to use, or they will eventually license.
Yes.
So, I mean, I understand what you say. I promise you that trying to get a remuneration through collective management on basis of turnover or things like that would be even a bigger struggle than trying to get a license. Because they will be resisting. They've been resisting on the private copy, on the reprography.
We've done this before with photocopiers, with computers, with memory cards, with everything. So it's not something that we haven't done before.
No, but they're challenging it every day in Brussels, trying to get rid of it.
I know.
And it's also that Microsoft, unless, of course, the terms of your contract say that they can reuse it for
they say for marketing purposes, but we know what that means. so it's the same machine.
Let's move on to give a chance also to Sergei.
I would add about regulation. I think that the next step has to be additional taxation of publishers because they use the education system. All authors were studied at schools. They never studied by themselves. So publishers use the educational system in their own interest. They get money from publishing and don't pay to the schools and to the universities additional taxes, licenses. That's the same idea when the artificial intelligence study their models based on the works of previous ages and current authors. So we are talking about licensing of these companies, but all we forget that any painter looks at the pictures of his colleagues. Any photographer use ideas of another photographers. Every writer was studied from the first grade to the ninth to the university, and publishers never pays to the universities additional taxation. License taxes. Universities prepared your people who wrote the book. So pay for these licenses, because if education will stop, you will not have writers. That's the same idea. So I think Brussels moved to the regulations that will stop European Union in comparison with China, in comparison with US and other territories. Small languages will ask OpenAI, for example, Iceland, to pay for licensing. And the Iceland language model will be so small that it will be very, how to say, the competitions of people in Iceland in using AI for their own work, for advertising in Iceland language, for writing something, for using, they will use only in English. So English content or Chinese content will move forward, and the small languages will be so regulated, and OpenAI or Google will not pay for these small languages. There is no sense for them, and the idea of getting license sounds good, but we forget that all we are the product of previous writers, painters. So that's the problem in the future. Regulation will kill the local languages.
I understand we have a strong position against the right of publishers to licensing. Am I right? Something like that?
Against regulation of taxation. For small languages, it's the ability to get the same potential as a big language version for the Iceland. Okay. If Iceland or Czech or even Greek, local government will press together this process.
Yeah, you need the mic. Okay,
you need the mic.
But okay, understood. So I don't know if let's don't do that. Let's add other comments, or also I would say I know the legal stuff is exciting, but let's go to other stuff about AI, which is also exciting. I mean, again, maybe there are other cases you have used. Yanis and Felicia talked about AI marketing a bit. I know Abdul Wahab, for example, had made a comparative study. I saw the presentation in Abu Dhabi.
But maybe before...
So Haris wants to say something,
Yes, the AI obviously is a tool, and we have to see it as a tool. We've been using AI for our English title list, Shimmr AI actually, and it liberates us. It liberates us because it allows us to tap into the potential of our backlist, which is a very important tool, and that's why we started using it, because the backlist was, in essence, idle, dead. And now it liberates you because it regenerates it. That's a comment I'd like to share.
Louder, please. I can't really hear. Yeah.
I can say so. Where Shimmr has become useful is for liberating the backlist. So when publishers create new titles, they invest their marketing budgets for 6 to 8 weeks, but then it goes to the backlist, it gets no more investment. So what this can do is bubble away in the background on the backlist and still keep generating sales without having to do a conscious marketing campaign. So it's an example of how he's using an AI tool for its benefit. I mean, I think we should do a poll on who in the room is using AI tools consciously.
Sorry?
Do a poll on
who has used.
Who is using.
Who is using. Yeah.
Who is using AI tools consciously.
Okay.
So that's a good show of hands.
Yeah. Nikos Argiris from Ikaros Publishing.
I like this discussion and how we've been saying that AI and its different manifestations in software can be a tool we can all use, and how it, when used properly, does not mean that you have to replace the human or your staff, but I think we are talking more on the business side, from the business side. So, for example, I have a translator who does rough translations from Greek to English, so I can sell rights, right? So when I go to Frankfurt, I give my Greek text to a translator, and he does a very big excerpt, so I can present the titles in Frankfurt in English. he gets paid, right? Per word or per something. I can replace that with DeepL, right? I get a 10, 15 euros per month subscription, and I'm done for the year, and I can translate whatever I want. So that's one lost job, for sure. Also, I'm thinking, if an author like James Patterson comes to you, to the publisher, with a manuscript co-written with AI, should he get half a royalty or full royalty?
That's a good question.
I would give half royalty, right? Maybe you should give a royalty to whoever gives the better prompts to AI. I don't know. I'm thinking out loud.
Or
Yeah.
maybe you give full royalty so he can pay for the AI service.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So also another lost job would be junior marketing,
Yeah.
right? Because we can do all this content generation with AI, pictures, text. So, okay, yes, it's a tool, but I think it does replace lots of hours of job done from an employee, from someone. So, just putting it out there.
I think it does replace jobs, but it will create other jobs at the same time.
Maybe, yes.
Exactly.
Or it can make your employees more productive. So looking at the marketing, for example, all of my friends in marketing use a tool called Jasper. And that creates the marketing plan for whatever they're marketing. And it doesn't mean to say they're going to lose their job because they have to then go out and implement that marketing plan. So I think it will make them more productive and more effective and more efficient. Doesn't have to replace every job, but I think it's inevitable it will replace some.
So we have 5 minutes, and before we go for the cocktail, and it's a bit tiring day, so I wouldn't prolong that a lot. But we have time if someone wants to add something. If not,
If I may.
Yes, exactly. I would say a final round of comments
But
by
just
all of you.
Because all of the Europeans, I think we are quite lucky to live in the European Union. But, okay, that can be disputed. But you'll have to be, if you publish electronic books, e-books, you'll have to be ready in June 2025, so that's in 7 months, to have all the books accessible. And it's fairly easy for fiction to make them accessible for people with any type of needs, so not just visual, but it could be physical disabilities. There are more and more startups who are offering image description, because that's the most complicated in a book that contains a lot of image, is to do image description. The machine does it for you, and then you check whether it's the right context, etc. So this is a very useful use of AI, and this is the one that all of the publishers who are publishing in the European Union ebooks will have to use as of June 2025, or at least they have to describe the images, and also they will have to allow text-to-speech of their content. So there we are going to increase the number of people who can go into a bookshop and buy an ebook and don't have to rely on libraries or charities. So sometimes it's also good.
Yeah. So any other, I know, yes, of course.
I would like to add also about the artificial intelligence. So we forgot to talk about the platforms who are deciding which titles would be shown. Generally speaking, I'm against very strong regulation, taxation, fair compensation. It's not the time to do that right now, I think. So generally speaking, the products will remain the same. It will be the printed book, it will be the e-book, it will be the audiobook, if we are talking generally for the books market. So what will be shown on the platform, what we will see on Amazon, what we will see on Audible, what we will see on Storytel, it's a big question. We are publishers, we are depending on the policies, what they are doing. Depending on the regulations which are created, should we mark or we shouldn't, They can do their own policy. They can create content using AI, and they don't allow us to do that and upload these titles created by AI. We have to do these things. But generally speaking, for the customer, for the consumers, it doesn't matter. Did author use AI or not? How it was created? The only question, do they like it or not? They want to pay for this book, they want to pay for this audiobook or not. It doesn't matter. It will create a lot of new content, but right now we are not asking, was this book written by the author originally, or was there some ghostwriter, let's say, or something like that? It doesn't matter. We like the book or not. We buy it or not. So.
Okay. Fatima, you have the final
Yeah,
comment.
we were mentioning some examples, like Emma mentioned Jasper for marketing. There is also HubSpot for marketing. They are very useful. I personally use one of these platforms for the email marketings and these stuff. But there is a very, very important technology using AI, in my opinion, that's helping publishers. In some countries, and my country is one of them, it's called the web crawling or the web spider. It's a system that gets into the website or your platform, and it's evaluated in a way and developed in a way that spots all the book piracy. It gets all the piracy from websites. If we are talking about audiobooks, ebooks, it tells you what websites are selling your books illegally, let's say, all the forums, all the torrent applications. It even spots all the social media piracy. So in my opinion, this is very important. And some publishers started to invest heavily in these technologies. And on another part, it could be also useful if you are speaking a language that is not like widely spoken. It helps you to translate a synopsis of a book, for example, for different languages, as long as you disclose that this synopsis is machine translated, but it helps you reach people easier. So in my opinion, new technologies, including AI and other, it became a necessity. It's no longer a bonus. You like it or not, you don't have to use it, but at least you have to stay up to date. You have to cope with new technologies to stay relevant and competitive in the industry.
And I think we have added through this discussion many new platforms and tools to check for your bucket list, because you didn't have enough.
I can give you some recommendations.
Yes. So I would like to say very few things about closing, not just the panel, but the conference, which is, and the main thing I would like to say is thank you. I think it was, the whole day. I know trade publishing, the people interested in trade publishing was obviously after 2 o'clock, and in the morning they're mostly the librarians. But I mean, thank you. I think it was, I believe you had a very good agenda. I mean, it was as close as it can be to the Cyprus book market, which has very specific needs, obviously, but also we did also some more advanced topics, I believe, but it is useful to discuss them. And so I believe also we had also seminars and let's say discussions which are quite actionable if someone wanted to have some specific takeaways. And in the next year, probably with the help of ThinkPub, we have mentioned it a lot, this consortium co-founded by Creative Europe. We believe that we'll be able to offer even better offerings to the industry. And I won't go through all the things we did today. I spare you for that. But I think the important thing is that I think we stay true to our mission, which is like contributing to the networking, the modernization, and the digital transformation of the cyber book market, but also stay true to our vision, let's say, of putting the Cypriot book industry on the map and making Limassol a regional hub for the book industry. So on the practical side, so thank you. That's